or food, or, shopping addiction, whatever the addiction is. Once you get clean and you get sober and you get abstinent, what it does, it creates an opening for all those feelings to come up that you've been eating over, drinking over, and all. And so what can happen, and it happens a lot in this business, we see it, is the feelings just almost choke people to death. They don't know how to deal with the feelings, so they'll switch off to something else. They will switch addictions. And I've told y'all this before, but clearly when I got home from treatment, that's the first time I had been that squeaky clean abstinent since I was 4 or 5 years old, because I was a sugar addict forever and a volume addict. And I remember I got home on Friday, and by Monday morning I was at that mall with that charge card. And it's just anything to fill up that hole in the soul, that void, that the food and alcohol does about the same thing to us as far as brain chemistry and as far as the body. You can take in alcohol, you can take in food, and it just goes down. It's so soothing, it gives us that sense of ease and comfort. So, the reason there's such a high relapse in all addictions, there's a high relapse. And relapse, I don't like to hear this, but I've been taught it and I say it. Relapse is part of recovery. And if you are in recovery and you haven't relapsed, I'll tell you what, that is a God deal between you and God. If you have, got on the path and never strayed off, because there is a high rate of relapse in addictions and eating disorders. And what usually causes the relapse is what I said, is an upset. Somebody does something to you, they pull out in front of you in traffic, or, your wife burns the toast, or your husband's late coming home, or whatever. It doesn't take much, or the kids slam the screen door too loud, because when you get clean and sober and abstinent, you have one nerve left and everybody's getting on it. So if it was just the substance, you could stop drinking, stop using, go to Weight Watchers, lose the weight, blah, blah, blah. But there's so much more to the disease than just the substance. So you've stopped the substance, the feelings are coming up, and it's like what to do with them. What do I do with these feelings? And all of you have been here, but I thought I would go over the feeling chart in a minute, because for me, it really helped me when I could see, with every feeling, there is a consequence. So, like I said, sobriety is not the finishing line. It is the starting. You're at the starting line. You're on the, the Olympics are just over, and those people getting on the starting line, they were all helped up and ready to go. And, and that's what recovery is right at first. And if we don't do more toward our sobriety, like I said, we will switch off to another substance. So it is so important to, and so far the thing that what has worked best for any addict, and I'm sort of speaking to the choir here, preaching to the choir, the thing that has worked very best is the 12 steps. It is still, I believe in therapy, or I wouldn't be in the business, but you can't live your life sitting in a therapist's office. What I recommend is people do, like an intensive, and, get into that core pain, that you've been carrying, And once you're an empty vessel and all those feelings come up, those feelings, very few feelings are about the moment. I mean, when you have big feelings, very few. Now, fear, if the house is burning down, you're going to be scared to death. If someone's running a stop sign about to run into you, you're going to be scared to death. You're going to feel that fear. You're going to feel the feelings. But most feelings are about the past. And that's why we're really big on doing the core work and, and get into the past. And like I say all the time, going back to look at your history, it's not about trying to make anyone bad or wrong. Some of our parents were very bad and wrong, but that's not our purpose of going back. Our purpose is to get our history straight and to see what happened, that, who and what happened to us that created that core pain or created those feelings that we can carry, way into our adult life. So, just for a checkup, for a memory, I want to go over these feelings. We make it very simple here. We give people 7 feelings. 7 feelings. Now, every feeling that you might have will come out from these 7 feelings. That these are primary, like primary colors. These are primary feelings. So the first one is anger. And if we don't address the feelings, what we do, we wind up either denying them, playing like they're not there, or we have carried feelings from the past. It's like our parents just hand off like a relay race. They just hand their feelings off to us, and we pick them up and begin to carry them. And it's always amazing to me when people do the core work, come do an intensive and really get into the past. Once they get past that and get into some good recovery, their daily feelings are very manageable. But when you have not looked at the past and you're carrying someone else's feelings, and then you stump your toe, it's much bigger than stumping your toe. You go all the way back and gather up those unresolved feelings. So anger, we can, if we deny anger is all feelings are healthy. They're not, and anger is not unhealthy. What anger is, Jesus Christ even got angry. He went into the temple. They say that he went in, turned the tables over. He caused a ruckus in the temple because he was mad at everyone. Healthy anger is good. What is not good is when we deny that we have anger or that we are carrying someone else's, and what it will produce is rage. And I'm a prime example. My father was a rager, and I picked up his rage and carried it. My mother suffered from self-pity, and I picked up her self-pity, and I felt sorry for myself. But if you're willing to go through and do the work around the anger and see where it comes from, and if you have rage, I will guarantee you it's not about the present. If it's hysterical, it's historical. If someone pulls out in front of you in traffic and you just go ballistic on them, it's not about the person pulling out in front of you. You've gone back and picked up all of that other stuff. Well, people have always done me wrong and blah, blah, blah. If it's hysterical, it's historical. But if you're willing to work through the anger, sit with it, recognize it, talk about it, write about it, come do an intensive over it, what you're going to gain is strength, energy, and motivation. I'll tell you, those Olympic people that just came home, and by the way, the U.S. did very good. They came in second place. I think they got 33 total gold ribbons or metals. What they had to have some healthy anger to want to beat the person next to them. And that healthy anger gives them strength and energy and motivation. It revs us up. That's what healthy anger is. And, have you ever gotten real angry and gone out and cleaned out the garage real quick? If you do get angry, come clean out my garage. It is such a mess, such a mess. Come clean mine out. I'll not charge you a thing for that, for garage therapy. But healthy anger gives it strength, energy, and motivation. Motivation to bring about change. And so the next one is fear. We say fear is false evidence appearing real. An addict can get this much, a tiny bit of information about something, and we build it up. We will make a huge mountain out of a little bitty molehill, and so that false evidence appearing real is fear, and it can turn to panic and paranoia. And panic is, where you get something frightens you. I'll just give you an example. This is so weak anyway. It happened to me. We had gone, my husband and I had gone to something at the Paramount, something that he wanted to see. And that's back when they thought I had narcolepsy, and I could not stay awake. And I didn't like what I was watching anyway, and I was so tired. And I told RL, I said, give me the keys. I'm going to go lay down in the car. And it wasn't long before the movie was going to be over. I said, I'm just give out. So I got out there. Well, the street light had burned out. The street was dark, and then I got into panic, like, oh my God, I wonder if somebody's going to come get me. They would not keep me long at all. They'd just take me back. But anyway, Cam's agreeing with me. She's trying not to laugh, but she's so panic is, oh my gosh, we get, that something happens and we get so scared and we can get into panic. And then paranoia is they are coming to get me. Paranoia is someone, it's that overdeveloped fear that something bad is going to happen and they're coming to get me, So fear, healthy fear is wisdom and protection. Healthy fear, when you have fear, you need to stop and get your wisdom on board to see where the fear is coming from. And it's given to us for protection, like I said, to get out of the burning house. If you're in a situation, marital situation or whatever that's not healthy, get out, get help, don't stay, particularly domestic violence. People will stay in domestic violence, and I think it's because of their fear of being alone. I think it's it's a lot of things. It's hard to work with people that have suffered in domestic violence because they keep wanting to go back, until they get help. So fear gives us wisdom to know the difference, and it gives us protection. Pain, the kind of pain we're talking about here, is not physical pain, it's more emotional pain. If you don't address the pain, what it will turn to is depression and that feeling of hopelessness. Now, this kind of depression is not clinical. It can turn to clinical. It's more situational, where somebody hurt your feelings. And, I say this all the time. Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can hurt our feelings without our permission. If you're a good boundary setter, if you can set boundaries, and you're around people that that can hook you, and those are the ones you really need to double up on the boundaries with. But if you are around people that can kind of giggy, and stir up stuff. Set a boundary. But that kind of pain unresolved, and a lot of the pain is left over from childhood abuse, and that childhood abuse is physical, sexual, emotional, intellectual, spiritual. Any form of childhood abuse can bring on pain, and in our adult life, we can work on it. And we recommend people come do an intensive, go back to home, work with it, on it with your therapist until you're clear, until the passage is clean. And I had a guy one time that had done 2 or 3 breaking free. We used to do weekend breaking frees, and then which they just come in and do the work anyway, and then we would do intensives. And he said coming to an intensive was better than taking a laxative. So whatever, anyway, because it cleans you out emotionally if you'll do the work. So what we get from the pain is, if we don't address it, is the depression, the sadness, and then that feeling of hopelessness. Just, you can't see anything but darkness. But the gift of pain is healing and growth. We grow through the pain. And pain we grow with, and we grow through. So, loneliness is another one. Deep in the heart, the big book talks about this. Deep in the heart of every alcoholic addict is that feeling of loneliness, that soul aloneness. Bill W. had that. He had that feeling of loneliness until he was in World War II. And he had already sampled some booze, but it really hadn't gotten him that bad yet. But he suffered a lot of loneliness, that deep, deep-seated loneliness. And his alcoholism really started when he was overseas, because the alcohol would ease that loneliness. But when we're lonely, what we want to do is isolate, and that's what the big book says. Most addicts want to isolate and be by themselves. And then when we are, it gives us that feeling of helplessness. We don't know how to help ourselves. So we just curl up in a ball and stay in our own house and don't talk to anybody. Used to could take the phone off the hook. Now you just have to block people. But the gift of loneliness, if you feel lonely, the gift of it is reaching out to someone else. Reach out. There's people everywhere that, might accidentally need a hand up, or check on your neighbors, check on your mother, check on your, anything to get out of yourselves. Do volunteer work, reaching out. And then another thing, it's a 2-part solution. The other thing for loneliness is to reach in to the God of your understanding. Actually, we're never alone when we're touching, when we tap in to that God of our own understanding. When we really do that, we're not lonely because we're not by ourselves. And then here comes the big one. Here comes the shame. Now, shame and we can have shame for different reasons, but it really does come from childhood. And a perpetrator of any sort has no shame. They put their shame on the child, and the child picks it up and begins to carry it. They carry someone else's shame. And I hate this statement that I used to hear, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Yes, I was ashamed of myself. Quit bringing it up. Quit calling it to my attention. But they'll ask kids that, aren't you ashamed of yourself? So shame, like I said, particularly any kind of survivors of sexual abuse or any form of abuse produces shame. And what shame does, it gives us that feeling of worthlessness. It goes inside our very being and tells us we're not worth anything. You know, if we were worth much, why would our parents abuse us? Why would they have abused us? You know, if we were worth anything, why did they, you know, take out their anger and, you know, loneliness and all on kids? So shame, if you work through the shame, what we're going to find is humility and humanity. Humility is knowing that there is a God and it's not you, it's not me. That's what humility is, knowing that there is a God and it's not any of us. Humility. And then humanity. It is about having some humanity. And humanity is about getting with other people. That's why the 12-step program works so well. Getting with like kind. And then here's another biggie is guilt. Addicts are I can only speak for myself, when after R.L. sobered up, and I'd been in Al-Anon for years, but we would go out, we'd be invited to go speak as a couple at AA meetings in little towns around here, or weekend retreats or something. And every time he would introduce me as Tennie Guilty McCarty, because I was guilty about everything. I was guilty of, I took it all on. It was my fault that he drank. Now, I wasn't really guilty about his drinking. What I was guilty about is beating him up, when he'd come home drunk. And y'all have heard that story. But guilt, when you carry around a load of guilt, you go pick up a 100-pound sack of feed. I bet you could go down to Jackson Feed Company and they would let you pick up a sack of feed that weighed 100 pounds. And you put that on your back and you try to see how mobile you are. That's what guilt does. It just weights us down. But what the gift of guilt is making amends. Making amends. And then looking at our own value system. Sometimes we get ourselves in such a close little box that everything we do, we feel guilty over it. You might need to loosen up a little bit. You might need to talk to a sponsor about, a lot of times people will be, kind of a pretty down alcoholic and, might have done some really bad things. So when they sober up, they feel guilty. They carry that guilt around. But, there is a way to get rid of the guilt, and that is to make amends. And how we make amends is we don't just go around saying, I'm sorry, I am so sorry. It is about mending our behavior. We do need to go face to face or write them a letter, when we have done harm to others. But the main amends that we need to make is to ourselves. Get off of our own back, put that 100-pound bag of seed down, quit carrying that load around. And that's another good thing about the intensive. People can leave a lot of junk here. And then check out your value system, not your mother's value system or your dad's or granny's. What's your value system? Because if you're trying to live under someone else's value system, one thing, it doesn't fit you, it's not yours, and so that just makes you get that much more guilty because you can't live up to somebody else's expectations. So see what your value system is and begin to live and get yourself out of, if you've got yourself in such a tight little ball that anything you do, you feel guilty over it. Those are the things to work through with your sponsor. And then number 7 is joy. And joy is a word that's found in the Bible more than any, and it means the enthusiasm of God. When we feel joy, when we feel when we feel joy, what we feel is the enthusiasm of God. I mean, that's exciting when you can feel God inside of you. But what happens is if you're carrying around a lot of someone else's feelings, particularly anger, shame, if you're carrying that around, that joy can turn to hysteria. And I describe this as a Pollyanna positive. Have you ever been around somebody that is just so positive and they go around patting on people and hugging people and just joyful, joyful, joyful? They will wear you completely out. We had a woman that her daughter was here in treatment, and she was so joyful, and someone went out to pick the people up she came for an intensive, and she was helping put luggage on. She was helping the driver drive, and she had never been to this part of the country, but in her codependency, she was trying to help. She was just helpful and just so joyful, joyful, joyful. And so when the intensive started, she was going around gathering up pillows for everybody, fluffing up pillows, offering to change places with people if they'd be more comfortable, where codependency at its max. And what I asked her to do, I said, she was just so joyful and excited. I said, would you be willing to just sit and not try to help anyone? Don't hug anyone, don't touch anyone, don't try to be helpful. Just sit on your cushion until noon, unless you have to go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom, come back, but just sit and be still and be quiet. And don't try to be helpful. Well, I'll tell you, in a few minutes, she broke down crying. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I took away in one instant all of her defense mechanisms. And when she broke, the dam broke, and she started crying. Of course, it was directed at me for, a few minutes, but then we made it a point that she was the first one that we worked with, and she was carrying so much stuff from the past, and the way she compensated for that was being helpful, being codependent, and being so joyful, joyful, joyful. And like I said, it wore everyone out, and particularly her daughter. She hated it. She didn't even want her mother to come for family week or anything anyway, the lady left her joyfulness here. It's okay to feel joy, but that doesn't have to be something to cover up what's really going on the inside, because if it's not addressed, it will turn to hysteria. You just, like I said, wears people out. So that's the feelings. And so what to do about, one thing, what not to do. Don't panic when feelings come up, because they will. You can come to 15 intensives, and you're still at some point going to have some feelings come up. Something's going to happen, and you're going to have feelings come up. There's going to be a death in the family. There's going to be a crisis of some kind. There is going to be something that's going to remind you of the past. Something will happen, and those feelings for a minute will come back. And what it's about is just recognize it, and don't panic over it. And just, we have a lot of people. In fact, we had a couple of women that went on the cruise with us, this last cruise. and they had both done an intensive, and they came wearing t-shirts that said, "I left my crap in Buffalo Gap." So when, after you've done an intensive, you might feel like, well, I'm cured. I'm not going to have that anymore. Yeah, you will. And when those feelings come back, don't panic over them. Don't panic over them. And because we are feeling people, do not label yourself as broken. Don't say, well, I'm just broken. I could never be fixed. Do not, main thing, don't rush into relapse. Feelings hurt. When you have some tragic things to happen, or it doesn't have to be tragic. It can be a disappointment. It can be someone lets you down. Someone, it could be finances. It can be, you name it. You name it. And the thing about it is, don't trade just when those feelings come back. Your brain has not forgotten the sense of ease and comfort that you get from music. And this is when you want to be very mindful. Your primary addiction, because it may start calling you, and it may not. It may be God might have removed that mental obsession from your brain, and He can. But you might have thoughts of another one. And it's not just women. People that have had the surgery, the weight loss surgery, research has shown that 35% of them have turned to alcohol. I knew that it was pretty high, and I went to a conference and they were giving the statistics, and 35% have returned. And once you have the bypass surgery or and that's really what happened to me, is your metabolism changes. So it doesn't take much alcohol to become alcoholic. I mean, like that. You drink 2 drinks, that third one, and you keep drinking it every day, you're going to turn into an alcoholic pretty quickly. And that's the major thing that people do turn to, the food people, the eating disorder people, particularly when they lose weight. And I have seen this over and over and over. They lose weight, they feel like they look good. Well, they do look good. And so usually the first addiction is spending. They'll go spend, buy new clothes, and then they get feeling a little frisky, and they might get some girls to go with them, and they'll go maybe to one bar, or maybe even do a little bar hopping, and they may see a tall cowboy at the end of the bar. This happens. We see it particularly when they lose the weight really fast with the surgery. And I don't know about the shot. I don't know how that works, but we really saw it because it's, when people have been, because in order to have that surgery, you have to be pretty large. And so when you, and I can say this because when you live with, I ate myself up to 287 pounds. It's like being in a tomb. You are in a safety. You've got that weight around you, and it is for protection. I've been sexually abused, and I was scared of men, and I'll tell you, men don't like fat girls. So there's a few that do, but not many. And so that weight's a protection. And so we play like that it's all, that we don't have to be attracted to men or women, regardless, what our preference is. But when that weight starts coming off, and you look in the mirror and you change clothes sizes, and you look in the mirror and you like what you see. So many of them, like I said, get frisky. The divorce rate is higher with the people that have had the bypass surgery than there is with those that haven't. So anyway, addiction is addiction. And, and I am certainly not against bariatric surgery. I had it myself in 1972. The only thing that I would recommend is, and I had a group of doctors come here years ago and wanted to partner with us. They was going to start doing the bariatric surgery. This has been years ago. And they wanted us to do the psych evals and to see if they qualified, if they were mentally stable enough to have the bypass surgery. So what I tried to do is to get them to partner with us to where they would come in and do an intensive. Then they would have the bypass surgery. And then they would come back here and do the healing here and let us refeed them and do a full 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 2 months. And we had a few of them do that. But these doctors were not interested. And the reason they wasn't interested is the money piece. They were so afraid the insurance wouldn't pay for our piece. They knew that they would pay for, the surgery, but, majority of them would. But that would have been a good package to address both sides of it at the same time. So anyway, do not isolate, don't get off by yourself and lick your wounds, what to do instead. Name the feeling. You cannot heal if you don't know the name of the feeling. Name it, claim it. Allow it, feel it all over your body without reacting to it. And what you're going to learn is, first thing I learned in Al-Anon, and I don't hear this much in AA, but in Al-Anon, what I heard is learn to, instead of react out of anger, to respond out of love. And I'll tell you what, that is what hooked my husband. Now, it took a good 14 years of that loving for him to make a decision that he wanted to go to AA. But he saw a change in me because I quit beating him up. I quit being mean. I quit being a rager, and I was so loving to him. And I would tell him, honey, I love you, I care about you, and I am so sorry you're sick. I know you're sick with the disease of alcoholism, and it saddens me that you are, and that's all I would say. And I'd hug him and walk out the door, go to work or whatever, So, name the feeling, because if you don't name it, you can't work through it. And then don't react, respond out of love. Talk it out with safe people, and the safe people are sponsors, or sponsors are the best. And do not go try to talk it out. If it's something about family issues, talk about it with a sponsor before you go talk about it with the family, because it's going to be one-sided, and your sponsor will help you see your side. Don't you just hate that? When a sponsor will say, well, now let's look over here and see what you've been doing. I'd much rather talk about them. But anyway, talk it over with a good sponsor. Pray about it, journal, sit quietly with it, and ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to teach me? Because there is a classroom inside of every feeling. There is something that feeling is trying to tell you. You're either about to relapse, or you are something's coming up that you haven't addressed, and it's bubbling up, and it's coming out like unresolved anger, or you are depressed, and and by that time maybe you do have some clinical depression. If you're depressed in recovery, go to a doctor and see about it. It is a mental health issue. It's not that you're bad, awful, and wrong. This is where there's mental issues and there's physical issues. So get some help from your physician, and, get a good therapist, get a good psychiatrist. Maybe it needs to Maybe you need to be on meds. Now, I don't go around recommending meds because I'm not a doctor. But I'll tell you, some of the meds that they have today, I believe wholeheartedly, if they had some of the meds that they have today, if they had them when my mother was so ill mentally, she wasn't mentally ill. I mean, like she did, well, she was too. Yes, she was. And alcohol helped her a lot. Alcohol helped her. But it was the way she was raised, and it was situations in her life. Tragic things had happened to her. And she'd never, when I was about 13, I looked in the phone book and I made me an appointment with the psychiatrist. I was already driving. I was 13 years old, but mother did drive me to that first appointment. And his name was Dr. Grice. And I went to, and I was working in a theater. I had my own money, thank you very much. And I remember he charged $125, and that sucker went to sleep. He went to sleep for $125. So I did not go back to him. But that did, I mean, can you imagine a 13-year-old kid going out and getting help? And that's what I did. I'd go anywhere, do anything to get help because I knew we all needed it. I always kind of look back and surprise myself as how I was as a kid and a teenager. So stay in the present. Don't escape into the past. If you're doing that too much, come back and do some work. And on the intensive, if you've done an intensive and you need to do another piece of work and you're going to know because those feelings come up, give us a call. And Kim and I come out, and Kim and I will spend a day with you, a day and a half. You don't have to do another intensive unless you need to do another intensive. If you slept through the first one, you might need to do another one. But I've got one coming in at the end of the month that we're going to work with for a couple of days. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Particularly if you're working a good program and you're going to meetings and working with a sponsor and you have this massive or this pain that keeps lingering, come do some work with us. Call Cam, she'll get it. Cam can set it up. Cam can do anything, y'all know that. All right. Freedom is not the absence of feelings. It is the ability to move through them. Feelings will not kill us, not feeling them will. If you don't feel the feelings and work through them, work through the past feelings or whatever you're carrying, they can kill us because the body is not designed to carry that load, and the body accommodates the mind. If your mind is full of stuff from the past, the body accommodates it, and it begins to break down in stress-related illnesses. They're even saying resentments can cause cancer. Feelings, it's not a mind-body split. It all works together. So, alrighty, that's what I have, and who would like to talk? This is a seasoned group. Y'all know about as much as I do. So, who have you, can you handle feelings more than you used to?